feel like sometimes life is really mental.
Dude, that's actually a really good name for a podcast.
Even when you lose all hope, you go deeper than you've gone. Hold on till you can't no more. It's really mental.
What I realized, it was really me that was closing the doors. That was a big hitting point for me. Like all my life, I was like, nobody understands me.
Hey everyone, welcome to another week of Really Mental, the podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Heyoon Jeong from Now United. I'm smiling saying that because she's an amazing human. She's very cool. And we had a great chat with her. Make sure you follow us, like and subscribe at Really Mental Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, Instagram. Make sure you come and say hi to us, write us a message, and leave 5 stars if you enjoyed this episode. Today, we are talking about bullying, self-love, and expression through movement. Harry, have you had any experience with taking a different career path, like Heyoon said?
Yeah, definitely. I think that anyone that's going in like the creative industry and doing all these creative things has definitely felt a backlash because it's not the traditional route where like you're becoming a lawyer, you're becoming a doctor, you're becoming a scientist, which is what Heyoon was saying as well, was her experience. And I know for me personally, like going into modeling and fashion, I think that I had a really hard time kind of like breaking through and convincing people that that was an actual tangible career, especially within school. Like I remember a lot of peers, even in lower grades than me, like kind of like really doubting that like you can do that as a career and you can be successful in those areas because it wasn't the traditional routes that their parents were doing or that they were seeing successful people doing. But I think at the end of the day, what I learned is like I'm going to do what I love and I'm going to do what I enjoyed the most, and it will work out if I put enough hard work into it and I have enough faith that it will go the right way. Because at the end of the day, why would I do something that I'm miserable doing for the rest of my life when I could be doing something and give it my best shot, because that's what I do love.
I think the things that we love doing, we naturally excel in. And I would say as well, I've had a similar experience walking a different path. You know, a lot of the time in high school, like Heyoon talks about, it can be really tough because there's a pool of people together, and being someone who's doing something different can quickly sort of outcast you from that circle of people. I think we need more shepherds in the world, more people doing different things that challenge, you know, the traditional pathways for us as kids and people growing up. You know, I totally agree with that. And we speak more about this with Heyoon, so we're going to get her on the show now. And yeah, again, really excited for you to hear this chat. Make sure you send it to a friend if you resonate with this.
Hey everyone, just want to let you know we have an Amazon AMP show with amazing guests similar to the podcast. Please go check it out on the Amazon AMP app and follow us at Really Mental. We're going to be hosting our show on Sunday at 7 p.m. PT and 10 p.m. ET. We'll see you there. I wanted to start off today by asking you, Heyoon, for those that don't know who you are, how do you describe yourself and what you do?
Honestly, as simple as it is, I'm just gonna say I'm a good person and I try to be better every single day. And I'm an artist like everyone else is. Yeah, I'm a very spiritual person and I love people. Yeah, and I love animals.
I love that. I love how you tuck that in at the end. I love animals. What's your favorite animal?
It's hard. This is gonna be random, but I do love like snakes and spiders. I think they're very mysterious and cool.
You'd love Australia then.
Yeah, I know, but I'm also a big puppy mom right now.
Have you got a puppy?
Yeah, I just adopted one from the shelter actually like 6 months ago. So she's a baby.
So cute. I've got my dog next to me here. I was saying before,
Yeah.
he's 2 years old. So
Oh, still a baby kind of.
yeah, it's still a baby.
Yeah.
I like to call
Yeah.
him little baby.
Mm.
But his name is Bear. What's the name of your dog?
It's 살구. So it's a Korean name. 살구,
Cool.
which means apricot.
Apricot. That's awesome.
How are you doing at the moment? And where are you in the world?
I'm actually in Dubai right now for something I needed to take care of, and I'm doing great. It's interesting. I haven't been traveling by myself for a long time. I'm always with my group, Nine Netted, normally. So it's a little boring. But also it's nice to have time for myself. Yeah.
What's something you're grateful for? Just, just start off on a light note. Something great that has happened to you in the last week.
I guess just being able to travel here. I'm here to figure out my visa situation. It was something it was on my mind for a long time. And just everyday things like I'm grateful for coffee, I'm grateful for the nice weather and the people. So, yeah, it's been a nice week. What about you guys?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to meet new people through doing this project and be able to speak to amazing people who have achieved so much and get an insight into their lives. What about you, Will?
Lots to be grateful for. At the moment, though, probably just having my dog. I was speaking to Sophia last night, hey, and she was talking about her dog that she used to have, and then it just made me like feel grateful for
Yeah.
my puppy that he's here right now, and like I want to spend as much time with him as I can before I move and leave home. So yeah, just grateful for the people that are entering our life through this podcast. It's been incredible to like meet so many people, and I feel like we're just learning a lot, and hopefully everyone listening is like learning a little bit too. I'm interested, Heyoon, how would you describe your energy in 3 words?
Ah, 3 words. I'm gonna say gentle, passionate, and a mom. I have a very mom personality.
Oh, really? In what way?
I love taking care of things and people, so I just say I'm a mom. Yeah.
That's so sweet. Oh my gosh.
Have you been like that since you were a kid?
I think so, but it took me a while to embrace it. I think I was fighting my natural instincts because it's a lot of pressure, like having being that shoulder for people to lean on and like taking care of things. It's a lot of work, but I find it it's my joy and happiness, and I'm great. I'm loving it now.
That's awesome. So far, I feel like you're very trustworthy. I don't know. I just get that vibe.
Thank you.
I feel like that's in line with a mum trait. What do you reckon, Harry?
I had an initial question that came off from that because like when you're constantly hearing all these things from all these people, like how do you not let it like affect you?
It's hard. I think emotions are very contagious, so that is true. It's hard, but I think always just understanding, like, if I'm listening to a drama, let's say, for example, that my friend went through and somebody hurt her, I just try to think of every perspective, like why this happened and why that person hurt my friend or something. And I try to give perspectives that can help her in the end or him at the end, if that makes sense. I just try to
Yeah.
understand that, people just lack love, and I think that's why people hurt each other, because everyone's actually seeking love. And I think just going down to the core. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you off the bat of that, like, how do you receive love?
I feel loved when I'm loving, actually, if that makes sense. Like, whenever I'm giving to people and loving to people, receiving their reactions like happiness or, that genuinely makes me feel loved, because it's like you feel the trust they have in you. And I think it always takes a lot of work to receive love. I think it's actually the hardest thing to do than giving. I used to struggle a lot with it. Obviously, like self-love and receiving love is something we're all struggling every day. So, yeah.
In what ways were you kind of like struggling with like giving love all the time?
I guess when I don't feel like I deserve the love, that's when I struggle. And I think that happens when you're like not really confident in something and you feel insecure about something. I think whenever I have those insecure moments or something that I feel like I don't deserve, I always go down to the core thought of like, what is real confidence? And I think I saw this somewhere randomly too, and then I was like, that's so right. But I think real confidence is not like entering a room thinking, oh, everyone here loves me and I'm the best in the room. I think it's actually entering a room and thinking, it's okay even though everybody don't love me or I'm not the best person in the room. Like, I'm okay with that. I have myself and that's fine. So I guess it comes from like not seeking too much validation in others and just accepting who I am and being vulnerable and being okay with that.
I think that's really beautifully put. I was actually speaking last night about there's a big difference between, arrogance
Mhm.
and confidence. And sometimes
Yeah.
we sort of mix them together. It takes real strength to go and do something in the unknown, and you don't know how it's going to turn out, but you still face it. What do you reckon, Harry?
It's really hard to get to that place where you're able to do that, because I think naturally we constantly as humans care about what other people think of us. We care about all these external things, and it's really hard to get to that place of being really comfortable within yourself. I know I'm still working on it. I know a lot of people are really struggling with that and their own purpose and self-confidence. How have you, Heyoon and Will, been able to get yourself to that place, through, like, has there been anything that you guys have kind of done, or any practices or anything that the listeners can take on board?
I meditate a lot.
Yes, let's go.
Honestly, I'm a very overthinker. I have like intense sleeping problems because thinking all the time. My brain never stops, and I find and I used to just distract myself, always like working on something all the time, and I realized that like literally sitting there and doing nothing is actually something that I really needed. And taking things down to the smallest size as possible and having, little victories, so celebrating little victories for yourself, it really gave me a lot of power to push through the day. Like you might have a rough situation at work and then just celebrating coming back home and of like food, a meal and drink, like as simple as that, just um, finding happiness in the little things. It's okay to lose. That's honestly that the biggest thing I want to say today, because like I see a lot of like positive affirmations online and so many things that are like be positive, love yourself, do this and do that. But honestly, maybe the biggest thing we need to hear right now is like that's okay. I feel that too. Just be sad when you feel sad and just sit and do nothing. That's fine.
Yes, yeah. I feel like so often we push away. Well, I know I do this. I'm not going to put this, onto everyone and say that everyone does this. But for me, um, it's quite easy sometimes for me to push away emotions. And recently, I've
Mhm.
just been feeling them like in my body, um, and it passes so much quicker when you actually just accept it and observe it.
Mhm.
With meditation, I love that as well. When did you start doing that, and what was the cause behind that?
I started doing that because I love yoga. Obviously, I was like stretching, the whole Corona quarantine. I was figuring out things to do to move my body. I started doing yoga, and I found out every session after yoga, like they kind of let you just lay down and zone out. And then I felt like so zen, so in peace. I would fall asleep most of the time. And then that's how I figured out, like, oh, maybe I just need to meditate. This is something I needed for a long time. But growing up with all the experiences I have had, everyone has a story, and some traumatic things happened. And I've always were very interested in mental health, and I've studied like psychology by myself. Nothing like serious, but I was always interested. Um, so yeah, but definitely I actually found the time to do that when the whole world stopped with the pandemic, obviously with everybody. I really, for the first time, I just sat down and was like, let's take care of myself. Because I think until then, I was so busy just distracting myself with work and surrounding myself with people. And yeah, I got to slow down and just take care of things.
That's really great that you did that. Is there been like a point in your life where you felt like you were emotionally at your lowest, like rock bottom? And
Mhm.
if so, like, how did you get back up, and how did you kind of deal with that?
I would say the lowest could be when I was in around high school. There's always a lot of hormones going on, so I think I would have handled things differently now, obviously, but there was a lot of things that happened in my life that were big experiences, and some good, some traumatic. And long story short, I struggled with getting bullied in school. I was bullied a lot growing up, and because of my differences. And my parents didn't have the best relationship at the time, and I just didn't really have a place to go to. I felt like at school there was no place, and I come home and I'm still don't really feel like home. And I felt really lost at the time. And how I overcame that season of my life, I definitely like it brought me to a place of, like depression and the mental illnesses that comes together with it. And I think I really just took things step by step and one day at a time. It was a lot of hard work, and I'm still working on it, obviously, on a lot of things, but I think it's just doing one thing at a time, like for myself. So let's say what really worked for me was just sitting there and processing everything because I was so young, and I was still figuring out who I am. And I am still, but at the time I felt so lost that I needed to practice like enjoying one thing at a time. Yeah, it wasn't easy. It was a whole process.
With childhood and obviously like those hard times in
Mhm.
your life and not having anywhere kind of to go, did you kind of create a safe space for you to think? And if so, where was that safe space?
I had a giant closet. And like in the physical space, it was that closet for me. I would like stuff everything in there. It was a big mess, guys. There was like clothes, pillows, candles, like everything you can imagine. All the random stuff was in there. I would just sit there and sometimes cry. Most of the times I cry because it's your safe place, and I would fall asleep. And I think having a physical safe place is really important because when you feel so lost in your mind, like you feel so you can't really function, And having a physical place to go actually helped me big time as a kid because I just didn't know who I am as a person at the time. And mentally, it took me a long time to figure out that safe place for me was myself. Like I always had to come back to myself, and that was my way of figuring things out, like on my own.
In terms of the, sort of emotions that you felt during high school and
Mhm.
obviously growing up, do you feel like that's a routine, finding your safe place? Is that something you've held on to now? Or is it something that you've sort of let go and you're like, that was for when I was growing up. I don't need it anymore?
It's amazing to have a safe place for everybody, and I think the best way to do that is having yourself as like your backup. As weird as it sounds, like the more you try to lean on somebody else or something like outside of your external things, the more you're gonna still struggle. And I think the more we bring it back into ourselves and process that internally, it's gonna um, be a healthy, safe place for you. Yeah. I think I just naturally ended up just always coming back to myself.
That's beautiful. It's always interesting hearing people speak and realizing how many different approaches there can be to finding peace. Um,
Mhm,
so it's really beautiful to hear you speak about your story. I'm interested from the perspective of your experience in high school with
mhm,
bullying. I think
mhm.
that every high school student, to of course different extents, goes through
Mhm.
some type of like traumatic experience,
Yeah.
whether it's a soft form of bullying in terms of just like getting teased here and there, or like
Mhm.
really bad bullying. I feel like it's something that a lot of students face. What helped you get through, and what helped you to stay strong during those times?
So this is gonna start really random. I had an experience of living in Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, when I was a little kid for like 2 years. I know it's the
What?
most random place in the world. For my dad's job, we moved to America, and that really shaped me into being a very like hype kid that's always energetic, always happy, the attention seeker. I loved like dancing and singing since I was a little baby. And then, but coming back to Korea, and um, obviously there's amazing things about Korea that I'm grateful for, but at the same time, our culture is very like it's amazing to be similar with everyone else. Like, it's great to fit in. Life is a group activity, and we view it as, like, the more you fit in and the more you are similar with others, you are a good person. That's kind of the way the culture works, because you get through things together. But at the same time, that really put me into a struggle because my mind was already open since I was a young girl. Imagine me loving singing and dancing and being like the one person in school that's wanting to do something crazy like this. Everyone else wanted to be a doctor or a professor. My dad is a professor and a scientist himself, and that's why I went to this school. Um, Everyone had their certain viewpoint on myself, on me, and I had like gossips always going on in school. I struggled fitting in because nobody really understood why I'm like this, and I was mentally and both physically bullied for a very long time, since like elementary all the way through high school, because I grew up in a small town, small city, where everyone goes to the same school from elementary to high school. Nobody changes. It's the same people for like 12 years. So it kind of felt like I'm caught in this loop. Like, I would try, okay, this year at the end of the year I would feel a little better, but then next year I'm still going to the same school with the same people in it. One thing I could say to people, if you're going through something similar, definitely, I would say physically, first of all, separate yourself. And I really tried to. I've been um, trying to like ask my parents that I want to quit school, I want to do homeschooling or go to a different city. I had good grades, actually. I had good grades because I worked hard for it. And it was like, my parents were like, if you have good grades, I will let you dance, take a dance class or something. It was kind of our way of meeting in the middle. And I think they really didn't want me to give up the career. And education is so big in Korea that I kind of couldn't get out of the situation. So ever since, like, right away, as soon as I graduated high school, I left my whole city and I moved to Seoul, and like I kind of cut off from all my people, all the people I knew. But going back to me being in high school, I actually ended up just going to school, saying hi to the teacher, like making sure they check that I was there. And I would leave school after an hour, like secretly, just leave. And I would get in trouble all the time for not saying anything and not coming into class. And I actually almost didn't make it to graduate because you need certain days filled in to graduate. Yeah, I would go to downtown and like go hang out with the street dancers that are b-boying, and I would like try to learn things from them. And yeah, we would practice dancing in the parking lot. It's a whole thing, and I genuinely like found a way um to overcome that time through like separating myself and just like forcing myself to go to my happy place.
Yeah, what about singing and dancing do you love?
So my personality at the time, because I was so overwhelmed with everything, I loved like being special and feeling special. But because of the bullying experience and other things that happened in my life, I was at a place where I couldn't really like look into somebody in the eyes. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't speak to people. Like, I didn't open up to people. Somebody would come talk to me, and sometimes I just leave. Like, I had a really weird phase with my personality. I struggled with like just communication in the most basic way. Um, and what really helped me was dancing and singing, because I think that was another way of expression. Like, things that I couldn't say to people, I figured out like just by moving my body, like, just feel free and move my arms and legs. And I think that was kind of my way to use the other part of my body. I couldn't use my mouth to express myself, so I started like using my body parts and my voice, making melodies out of it. Yeah, I think that's the most beautiful thing I find about music and dance, and it definitely helped me in my life, and it's really who I am right now.
I'm interested. What do your parents think about what you do today? Are they supportive at the moment?
They're finally happy.
Good, good.
Yeah, I think because like they had such a different generation and culture at the time, and they were just worried, it comes from love. Like, I do understand it now that I'm a little more grown up than I used to be. I would always think, like, why are they so against this? Like, just let me do something I love. But being growing up in an environment where everyone is a scientist doctor around you, and they worried a lot that I couldn't make a living out of it. I think the reality part. And my mom, honestly, she was a singer herself. It took us as a family, as my parents and my relationship, it took us a long time to come to a place we are right now. They're very supportive and happy because I get to travel to these amazing places, and they finally see that, like, okay, she's making a living out of it, she's happy, and she's meeting all these beautiful people and amazing experiences in life. So um they respect me so much of what I'm doing right now, and I'm just grateful that they finally understand, and that they're happy.
Would you say that you feel like you have people to talk to now, or do you feel like sometimes you just have to sort of keep it to yourself and process your emotions by yourself?
I think for sure I feel the love and support around me way much more, and I've developed those relationships around me. But what I realized, it was really me that was closing the doors. That was a big hitting point for me. Like, all my life, I was like, nobody understands me. I find the reasons in other people, but I realized that it was me. Like, I was so overwhelmed with all these things happening to me, and I was unsure of who I am. So I kind of shut down myself away from people and receiving love and support. So once I realized that, and I worked on myself, and I worked on, like, having my back, like, myself, it really naturally opened up those good relationships and building up that healthy way of communicating with people around me again. Oh, this is kind of a side thing that just reminds me, but I do want to recommend people, is
Yeah.
is weird, and I think a lot of people already talked about it, but voice memoing yourself and having a conversation with yourself. It's like, it's weird because it sounds awkward, but it actually helped me a lot. I would just put on a voice memo. Sometimes things are too deep and dark to share, or like something embarrassing that you don't want to. Just put on a voice memo, talk to somebody like you're on the phone, literally, like, hey, this happened to me and I feel terrible because of this, blah blah blah, and then listen to it back and, like, give yourself advice. Because the thing is, like, human brain, we all know what to do. Honestly, like, we all know what to do. The reason we want to talk is we just need someone to listen and to vent to. So I figured out, like, maybe sometimes, like, people don't have the space to listen to my problems. Maybe I just do that for myself, and it's actually very therapeutic. Like, I highly recommend everybody try.
I think that's beautiful, and I don't think we've heard. That's the first time we've heard that, right? Harry?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the first time someone's actually said that as a form of like a coping mechanism.
Definitely. I think like it's your own journey, and that's the beautiful part, is that you don't actually have to share it.
Mhm,
It is sort of a weird concept of like, if someone got your phone, like, but
mhm,
you shouldn't have to delete it because like you're human. And like that's the part as well. I feel like we all sometimes shield the parts that we perceive as ugly in an emotional sense, like,
mhm,
the shame. And like I feel like sometimes we shame ourselves for having these really tough emotions, like maybe jealousy or being really sad. So I think that hopefully we can end up changing that and realizing that we just all feel that,
mhm.
so we don't need to be scared of it. And yeah, I think that's a beautiful point that you made.
I wanted to ask, only if you're comfortable to answer this question.
Yeah.
You were talking about how like there's like really like the deepest, darkest secrets and the things that you really struggle with. Like, do you
Mhm.
have like, it doesn't have to be like super dark or super deep. Do you have an example of something that you're really struggling with that you talk about to yourself that you could share?
I have water phobia. I don't know what the word is. I'm scared of water. When I was around like 3, 4, I almost drowned. It was at a sauna, actually. It wasn't a deep ocean or anything dangerous, but I was playing with my older sister, and I almost drowned. And honestly, I don't really remember a lot because I was so young and I passed out completely. And that was, like, I think the first time I've ever experienced like something traumatic. And I realized after I was older, like, to be aware that, oh, this is what trauma is. Like, I couldn't really, like, taking baths are fine, but anything bigger than a bathtub scares me still to this day. That, like, I can't really, obviously I can't swim. I've tried like swimming lessons for years, but it didn't work out for me. I've done like water therapy where you go into the, like, in front of the ocean and there's a whole teacher. You do a whole ritual thing and like you try to put your soak yourself into the ocean. And I've tried everything I could, honestly. And I'm still working on it. But what I felt at a point was that I kind of got comfortable in this. Like, I accepted that, oh, maybe I'm just not gonna swim forever. Maybe I'm just not ready for this, and maybe I'll be scared forever. And it was a scary thing because it's like the most normal thing for some people, just swimming and going into the pool. But something so scary for me that, yeah, I'm honestly still trying to figure out what's the right way, but I think definitely it comes from if I practice enough how to overcome challenges in my life, I'm sure I can figure out a way. Like, if I develop other parts of me that can be strong enough to help in that side of being able to challenge myself to just one day swim. And that's my goal. And honestly, Night United helped me a lot. I know this sounds like so separate, like water, scared of being scared of water, and joining a pop group, like what? But actually, the experiences, because we would always go to this amazing, beautiful places and do all kinds of crazy water sports, which is, everyone is having a blast, and I would be so sad always, like, being in a room waiting for everyone. um but looking at people actually enjoying so much in the water helped me to challenge myself. And we recently last year did like a snorkeling, and you're supposed to fully go in dive, but I started like with just putting my face so my ears would be above and literally just this amount in the water. And that already, the first time we did that, I had a full on panic attack. And then the second time I did that, I was able to go like almost into the ear. So that realized, like, maybe I just need to keep putting myself in the vulnerable situation, and that's gonna grow a muscle in that kind of way.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. And I hope that your growth and progress with that continues. Everyone has, that thing that they're scared of. So I don't think that it's, crazy or anything that it's, water is yours. I just think it's different for different people. So I would love to learn more about your story of joining Now United. We obviously know about the stuff on the internet, but if you just want to give everyone sort of a rundown on how that happens, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so before joining Nine Netted, I was a choreographer in Korea. So I used to teach like dance classes and train K-pop idols.
We're going to have to dive into that later, but continue.
Yeah, but for a very short time. I was young, so I've experienced that for like 2 to 3 years. And then one day I got a call. It was like 10 p.m. at night, and one of my dancer friends that works with like entertainment companies for like backup dancing and stuff, she called me and she's like, oh, there's this audition. They're looking for somebody that's not signed to anywhere, that's able to dance very well and around that age. And like, so she was like, are you interested? But it's in America. I was like, what? It was so random, and I've never at the time, I wanted to travel always, but I've never at the time. So I kind of said no in the first place. I was just like, I don't think I will fly somewhere and audition. And also, competition is like the last thing I enjoy in my life. Like, I hate
Really?
competitions. Yeah, you would think like, oh, you're used to competitions all the time and auditions, but no, like, I've never really sang in front of anyone. Like, I've been singing my whole life, but I was very insecure about it. So I said no, but then we called for a very long time. So I was like, let's just try it out. And honestly, the reason the biggest reason was our choreographer Kyle. So they told me like, oh, the project is with Simon Fuller and XIX Entertainment. And because I grew up in Korea in a small town, I had no idea who he was or like about any information about the company. For me, it was just like, oh, somewhere another country, like entertainment in another country. And I look up and I see like Spice Girls and David Beckham and all these famous names. And I was just like, oh, so this is a big company. And I heard, but the biggest thing that I realized was I heard that Kyle Hanagami, he's our choreographer right now too. And he's a dear friend. He's an amazing person. Um, he was gonna be at the audition, and my instant thought working as a choreographer, and he was like my childhood crush, like celebrity crush. He was my celebrity.
Really?
Yeah, my whole life I would watch his videos in school, like instead of reading my books. So I grew up watching his stuff. So I was like, this is my chance to meet him. I'm gonna go to the audition, but I had other plans. Like, I'm gonna meet Kyle and tell him how much he inspired me and work with him, like, hopefully. So my mind was there. And also, I heard that they were looking for between 14 to 18. And I was already like about to turn 22. I was 21 at the time. So in my head, I was like, I'm just there to fill in the space. Like, I was very insecure about my singing. So we flew over. And this was a week before the very big audition. Later on, I found out, like, let's say Annie from Brazil, our member, she auditioned for the boot camp like a year before. And for me, I was the last person to be casted. And I found a week ago, so I had to prepare everything in a week. Like, I didn't have a dance number I can audition to. I didn't have a song that I could sing, so I figured all that out on the plane. Like, I would make the choreo on the plane, literally, guys. So, so I fly out, and at the time, it was the I don't know what I was thinking, but I quit all my job. I was working at 5 different dance classes, and the only way for me to go audition was like canceling and quitting everything, because it's a very tense industry that if you're gonna be empty for like 2 months, they're gonna have to hire another choreographer to fill in your schedule. So I basically had to let go of everything I had and I built up for years. So I quit every job, every dance studio I was working at. I flew into LA knowing that I'm not going to make the audition, like thinking that I'm not going to make the audition. I'm too old for this. That's what I thought. I was 21 and I thought I was too old. I get there. It was a 7 day, like a week process. Every day was intense auditions where like individual singing, individual dancing, group dancing, and every day was an audition, interviews in English. Like, I didn't even know how to spell the alphabet completely at the time. My English was so bad. I could never imagine like talking to you guys like I am right now. I would always say in the interviews like, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, because that's all I knew how to say. So there was a lot of things. I fly in, we auditioned, and then it was a full-on experience because all these talented people from literally all over the world, so beautiful, so young, and everyone was like 14, 15, and I felt so weird being there. Like, I didn't speak the language. I mean, everybody was from foreign countries, so we were all in the same place, but in my mind I was just scared to death. I remember literally like crying in the bathroom on the audition days because it was so overwhelming. But then from my experience, why it was so hard and why I cried was not because obviously it was intense, but everyone got along so well. I've never been in an auditioning environment like this. And like teaching trainees in companies, I realized like how intense it can be in the industry. The thing is, every break we would have during the audition days, like somebody would start playing music and everybody would just literally dance. I know it's like another step up situation, but actually, like, we get along so well. And it was like the weirdest experience for me. Like, we have so much love and support for each other. It was not an audition environment. And that made it harder for me because I love these people already and we get along so well, like 40, 50 kids from all over the place. But you know that at the end of the day, there's only going to be like 10 people left and everybody has to go home. And to me, like, it was a full-on struggle. I was really insecure. I think it was the most stressful thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it does sound stressful, and it's something that I feel like you probably wouldn't want to do again. Like, you're like, that's I've done my time auditioning.
Never, never.
Knowing how Korea is with the amount of auditions that a lot of the trainees do there before they find a company, like, what are your thoughts on that after doing one for Now United?
I think the thing is this, like, all my life I've been avoiding auditions and joining companies. Like, one of the most questions I get asked from my fans is like, why didn't you debut as a K-pop idol before joining Nine United? You were young and like you were at the age. I had a few moments, like I got casted through companies in Korea. Like, I had sometimes through like um uploading my dance videos online, people would cast me, but I did say no to everything. And at the time I thought like I knew how intense the training is and like how unsure the future is. Like, people train for 10 years and maybe not get to debut, and all their life is gone, like 10 years of their life. And they're old and now not knowing what to do besides dancing and singing. So, like, knowing all the reality early on, I kind of said, like, you know what, I'm just going to make my own music and like make living out of dance, and then maybe when I'm ready I'll sign a company and it'll be a completely different contract. Like, since I was young I thought about that, but now I look back, I think I was scared. Now I look back, I think I was afraid of like stepping into something so unsure about the future. I wanted to take the safety route, just being really honest and vulnerable. Like, I think I was just afraid. And Nine United audition, I honestly, the only reason I went to it was because I was already closing doors for myself. I was like, I'm honestly not going to make it. I'm just going to go and meet the people. And that's what I want. Like, I had different expectations on it, um, which, like, I realized now that I was just scared and afraid of the outcome. And that's what happens. Like, it keeps you from challenging things. And I'm just gonna quote this. It's something I heard recently through a service. And what is limiting us, like, if we have a vision or a goal that we want to get to, what is limiting us is not actually what we don't have. What limits us is what we have. And I realized, like, that hit me big time, because that's what I felt that at the moment. Like, it wasn't really, we always say, I can't get to this place because I don't have this. I don't have the source. I don't have people. I don't have the money to be this person. But actually, the problem is we're holding on to what we have so hard that it limits you from challenging to the next thing. And I think that's what happened to me. Like, I was like, I don't want to give up on all the career that I worked on, who I am right now. I like this. I don't want to give up and go like challenge to something that I know I'm gonna not make. I think that was my mindset, and it hit me big time, and I'm trying to approach it differently now on.
I saw that you speak a lot about how every day we need to make decisions in our life. And I
Mhm.
wanted to ask, like, how you make these important decisions in your life and what are the steps you take to now, like, make those decisions.
I think what helped me was approaching it in the first place differently, in a way like, okay, whatever decision I make, I'm gonna make it the best decision. Because even though no matter how hard you try to prepare for things and plan things out, life just doesn't turn out the way you want it to be most of the time. So I find it really helpful if I approach it like, I just make the decision and then figure things out. Like, I make it the best thing I've done. I take responsibility and I try all my best to make it the best thing that happened to me. And, every situation, it comes down to perspective. Like, which perspective you choose to have will depend. It'll make a positive situation or a negative situation out of it for yourself. So I've discovered that, and yeah, I try to approach it differently.
It sounds like you're talking about gut feeling too, right? Like, you're saying you just
Mm.
make the first decision and then you figure it
Hmm.
out what that means after.
Yeah.
How do you trust yourself in knowing that everything will be okay in those decisions?
Trusting yourself comes out naturally when you figure out a way to have your back. Trusting yourself requires a lot of confidence. And like I said, I think real confidence comes from not seeking validation and being okay with who you are and just being happy and accepting who you are as it is. And I think I'm at a place now where I'm okay if this doesn't turn out and not everybody likes me. Like, I have myself and I have my back. So I'm okay. I'll move on and I'll find other things that will work out for me, and just accepting the situation and who I am.
I know you've mentioned a few times in the podcast that you love to help people and you love to be that shoulder to cry on and you love to look after the people. Does it
Mhm.
ever become really stressful also being like the oldest in Now United and kind of being that mother figure to all the members?
I used to stress a lot, especially coming into Nainare in the beginning, because beforehand I was always the youngest in a situation when it comes to like a group environment, or especially a career. All those dance studios I used to work at, I was the youngest teacher there because I was like 20, 21. So it was very new to me. But then the members helped me realize that this is my natural instinct. Like, I didn't really know that it's a big quality of me, that I feel joy and happiness genuinely through helping people and being there for people. I realized that because the members really told me that. Like, I didn't know that I love doing that until they told me that. I feel great talking to you. I feel like I feel safe when I'm talking to you about my worries or problems. And that made me really happy. And I realized, like, oh, this is something that I really enjoy and I should embrace it. I should not be worried anymore. I think I was just worried because I wasn't sure about myself. Like, am I giving the right advice? Am I telling them the right thing? What if there's consequences? What if I tell them this advice and it doesn't happen for them? It doesn't work out for them. But I realized, like, if I'm coming from a genuine, honest place and coming from love, like, they're gonna understand. And even if things don't go the way they wanted it to, they're not gonna blame it on me, or like, it's a healthy love and support relationship that we have together. Um, so yeah, I'm embracing it now. Mom.
Well, yeah, I can say that we've spoken to Sophia and she's always talks very highly of you and says that you've helped her with a lot of different things, which is
Mm.
amazing. I did actually want to ask a question on behalf of Sophia that she told me to ask you. It's kind of a light one. It's a funny question. It's who's your favorite member in Now United?
Oh my god, of course she asked that. We do this for fun, like, all the time. To like Kyle or like anyone we work with, we're like, we know I'm your favorite member. Because it's like 18 people and we're all so different. But yeah, so far I'm just gonna say it's you. You needed that. You wanted that. I know that.
She did say as a part two, she's like, she better say it's me.
And so, what is something you're working on at the moment that you're excited to bring out to the world?
I think mentally this year, my goal is to just like chill out, worry less, chill out, live in the moment, and enjoy the things, because time's so fast and precious. So, yeah, every year I would have different goals, like, oh, I want to love more, I want to make more friends and stuff. But this year, I just want to chill out. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I hope you're able to do that. I had just one thought come to mind, and I was thinking, how is it having relationships, even just with friends, just generally with people, while you're doing your work and all this traveling?
It is definitely challenging. I think it's one of the most biggest challenges that we have with this lifestyle. Um, but I did realize, like, I have a very small circle of friends that are like deep bonds, rather than having a lot of good friends. I'm not saying which is good or bad, I'm just that kind of person. And it naturally, like, made me more even. My English is. I've been doing a good job. Keep up the good work. I'm heading towards even more that way, because, like, you constantly have to leave people, and I figured out it was actually the guilt that I was struggling with. Is actually, they're fine. They're doing fine. They have their busy life going on. They have work. They go to the office. Like, they're gonna miss me. But I realized that it was actually me feeling guilty of leaving them behind. that was a big of a struggle than them actually missing me too much. Like it was me that I'm missing so much. So I'm definitely figuring out my own ways of dealing with that. And but I'm just grateful. Honestly, I'm just grateful at the end of the day. This is not a easy lifestyle for anybody, and for the great people around me, like my friends and family, for understanding that I will leave for a couple months but be back, and I will always be there in their lives. And I'm just grateful for people to be by my side with this journey.
That's beautiful. Any final thoughts, Harry?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to be able to share that with the world.
Guys, I just want to say thank you. Like, it's coming from my genuine place. Like, it was so nice to be able to talk to you guys. And I've been wanting to do something like this. And you guys made it so comfortable for me to speak so truly. Even though I struggle with English, like, I didn't even worry about it. You have to see
Your
me.
English is amazing.
In other interviews, I would say things like every 5 seconds, like, oh, my English is so bad, because I get nervous at answering the right things. But I genuinely felt you guys made me so comfortable. So thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank you so
Heyoon.
much.
Thank you guys for having me.
I loved that episode with Heyoon today. Will, I wanted to ask you straight off the bat, what was one of the main things that you took out of that episode?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, we touched on so many cool points and sometimes difficult points to bring up. So I felt like it was a really productive conversation with Heyoon. One of the things that I thought of is that it shows having someone like Heyoon on is really important for us to sort of see that if you do follow your heart, you can be successful, no matter how different you are to other people at the time. You know, we heard about how at school most of the people were into sports, whereas she was into music, obviously. And so even that in itself, it's pretty cool to see her do what she does today. I mean, they're playing arenas. So I hope whoever's listening to this, I hope you can take away that, you know, whatever you're striving for, no matter how different you feel, or if you feel like a misfit, you can make it happen. She also touched on self-love, which I think is so important. You know, really looking after yourself and how you're feeling, especially when you're going through times when you feel like you don't belong. It's really important because those are the hardest times. You know, we all want to feel like we connect and have a purpose. So while you're on your way to finding that, make sure that you're putting in habits like Heyoon was talking about that can really help you develop a self-love. That's the main things I took away. What do you reckon, Harry?
I 100% agree with you. I think that it's important just to follow your path, because while you're in this time where you're young and you don't have children, or you don't have those overarching responsibilities, you can like give it all that you got. Because like worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. You're 2 years, 3 years behind everyone else. You can catch up pretty quick. Like it all evens out very quickly. Like you're not really risking as much when you actually think about it that way. Because while you're young, you may as well go for your dreams.
Amen.
Thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far, please give us 5 stars and listen to us again next week. We've got an amazing guest on, as we always have amazing guests on. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Make sure you go follow us and subscribe to us at Really Mental Podcast on all platforms, including Instagram. And we'd love to hear your stories. So if you're going through something or you want to share a story about your mental health journey, send it to us and we may include it with a guest we have coming up. Peace.
Thanks. Bye.
Even when you lose all hope, you go deeper than you've gone. Hold on till you can't no more. It's really meant to.
Hey everyone, we have a Really Mental show on the Amazon app, and we're going to be hosting live conversations with talented humans like you hear on our podcast. We're even going to be having some of the same guests on, meaning you can ask them questions and hear us chat more about mental health and growing up. So follow us at Really Mental on the Amazon app, and we'll see you there for conversations at 7 p.m. PT, 10 p.m. ET every Sunday, because we want you to know no matter who you are, you're not alone.
I just want to end this episode today, Will, by like talking directly to the audience, saying like, if you guys are struggling, Will and I aren't like,
Of course, feel free to share your stories with us and DM us. We want to know what you're going through, but make sure you take the time to speak to a professional because that's going to give you the most help. That said, we hope that these stories and the people we've spoken to can really help you on your journey to finding that right person, whether it's a therapist or that friend to talk to about it. Make sure you take the time to do that.